What's up, everybody? This is Ryan here. My office is still under construction, as you can see. So I still don't have very good lighting, but that's okay because hopefully the information itself will be useful. I just screwed up my shot. There we go. The illusion has returned. All right, yeah, what's up? So I wanted to make a video which was basically a continuation of the past two videos that I made. In the very first video in this set, I can't even remember what I talked about in the first one. In the second one, I talked about basically self-limiting beliefs and how to kind of deal with just a simple question or a simple thing that happens to you. Let's say, for example, you say to yourself, I want to be a programmer, but I'm not sure if I'm smart enough to do it. So that video was about dealing with that. That was something that I had to deal with. And if you have ever asked yourself that question about really any skill or field, do check that video out, because I give a very, yeah, I ramble a lot, but you'll just have to deal with that. But if you can sift through my rambling, you might get a thought experiment that I use to deal with that problem myself. Now, at the end of the video, I basically mentioned that if you follow what I say in that video, you arrive at the conclusion that really what's separating you from doing something like that, doing something like programming or studying physics or whatever you want, what's separating you from being good at that is putting the time in. I use the analogy 2 hours a day for 10 years. Now, maybe there's a select few individuals who have that level of dedication and a lifestyle that would allow for them to be that consistent. But for most of us, that's not the case. It's a goal, but it's not necessarily a reality. But in any case, what I wanted to talk about is that at the end of the video, I said the next question is, how do you put the work in? We've arrived at the work is what is necessary to get from A to B. How do you actually put the 2 hours a day in, or whatever, 2 hours? If you're just starting out, maybe it's just putting in a half hour a day, whatever. So I've given these kinds of talks about productivity in particular. That's mainly what this video is about before. So if you've watched my older videos, you'll hear some recurring themes. But I have a kind of a new way of packaging two important things, which are very complementary to each other. So hopefully it might be as useful to you as it's been useful to me. So really, when it comes to, let's imagine like productivity is like a resource or some percentage value, and it changes from day to day or hour to hour or moment to moment. And what you basically want is, on a day-to-day basis, you want your productivity meter to hopefully be at least like 50%, so you can get a good amount of work done. It's great if it's at 100%, but rarely is that the case. And on days like when it's at 0%, then you just don't get anything done, and you're totally scattered, and you sleep in, and you don't exercise, and you don't really do anything useful. You just kind of bide your time and escape into whatever your particular vice is. And I'm not saying that judgmentally. That's something that I've done quite a lot. I will probably do it again in the future when life gets really difficult for me. But what we're talking about today is how to increase that productivity meter. And there's two ways I want to talk about it. Two things I want to focus on, and as we'll see, like I say, they're very complementary. So the first thing is you need policy. So where does this word policy come from, and what does it mean? So I worked at a grocery store when I was 12 years old. And in the grocery store, we had a policy for how to stock shelves, how to put food items and other stuff on shelves. So the food items that are oldest are always put to the front of the shelf. So if I have a can that expires in 2020, a can of beans or something, then I'm going to want to put that can ahead of the can of beans that expires in 2021 so that the customer buys the old one first. This policy is known as first in, first out, or FIFO. Policies are also something which exist in CPUs. So a central processing unit will have a scheduling policy for the different processes. A process is another name for a running program. How do you have 60 different processes, 20 different processes share CPU time? There are also policies. You can actually build a CPU which follows the FIFO policy, the same policy that I was instructed to use at the grocery store. You wouldn't want to. It's very effective for grocery stores, very ineffective for central processing units. But there's other policies. So why I just talked about that is I'm giving you two examples of something instead of trying to give you a big verbal definition. So you need a policy is the first thing. Now there's different, and what I would suggest, have policies for different time scales. There's really two ways I have gone about this in the past, and I'll start with the one I used to do and the one I do right now. The first way is it's goal-oriented. So you say, for example, you write a master list of goals. You get a pen and paper and you write down maybe 100 or 50 or even 10 goals that you want to attain. So whatever you want to do, get a degree if that's your thing, not my thing. Lose X number of weight, do 100 push-ups in 10 minutes, fix your posture problems, learn a new language, whatever. So you make that list, and then so that's like a yearly list. And then you make a monthly to-do list. What am I going to focus on this month? And then you can, if you even want, make a weekly to-do list, and then you also make a daily to-do list. If nothing else, I would just do the daily and the yearly. Those other ones are kind of optional, but this is really going to depend on you. That's how I used to do things. I don't so much, so that would be the policy that basically tells you what to do each day. I don't really like the goal-oriented policy anymore because I've found that life can be incredibly difficult when it comes to reaching your goals, and you're just not always in a situation where you're able to do that. Obviously, some people might hear that and think, oh, that's just excuse making. But, well, lucky you. Now, I do have goals, and I do write them down, and I do have a to-do list every day. Do I regularly check my master goal list that has the 100 things that I want to do? Not really. Maybe once every couple months I'll look at it and maybe tick a few of them off. But I just don't find it really motivates me. It's not enough structure is what it comes down to. So the other approach here for policy, and this is what I use now, is I schedule my days ahead of time. So let me run through my schedule for today. Wake up 6 a.m. Immediately go and do a workout. So I did 12 sets of burpees in 12 minutes. Then I went back and meditated for 25 minutes. Then I came here, made some coffee. It's now 7:30 a.m. So I prepared to record this video a little bit, and here I am recording the video. So at 7 a.m. my work period starts. Usually what happens is I study for 2 hours and then I go into coding work, but today I wanted to get this video done, so it's the first item. Once I'm done this video, I will just jump straight into studying computing. Got a really great book I'm reading, textbook, Feynman's Lectures on Computation. So, and then at 11, I take a break, and it's a very controlled break. It's not go surf YouTube, it's go for a walk, get outside, and try and calm my mind down. Because after studying programming and stuff for whatever 4 hours, my mind starts racing. So I slow that down, come back at 11:30, get back to work until 2 p.m. And then 2 p.m. is basically the end of my workday. Yeah, it's only an 8-hour workday, but that's good enough. That's enough time programming for me on a daily basis or studying programming. And then from 2 p.m. until 9 p.m., that's my free time where I can do more or less whatever the hell I want. As long as at 9 p.m. I turn my screens off and I start preparing to go to bed. So that's just one example. The idea is we're actually scheduling a 24-hour period so that right at 6 a.m. I don't have to figure out what I'm going to do that day, because I personally find when I wake up first thing in the morning, my decision-making capacity is very poor, even if I do a lot of things correctly the previous day. So the policy, and this is the crux of what I'm talking about here, the policy takes the decision-making process out of your day to a certain degree, so that all you have to do is just follow your own advice. And that's why I think a policy is very important, especially if you're someone who might be a little bit on the autism spectrum. So that's one side of this thing, and then the other big topic for today's video is your capacity to follow the policy. I will call this decision-making capacity because it is a decision to wake up on time, unless you just didn't hear your alarm or something, or it didn't go off. It is a decision to follow the policy, and if my brain is messed up, I find I'm not capable of following my policy. So what can we do? So this is the kind of stuff I talk about frequently. What you need to do if you really want to get your productivity going, you need to observe the different habits in your daily life, and you need to look at which habits improve my clarity of mind and my ability to make good decisions, and which habits reduce my ability to make good decisions. So I'll give you a few examples from me. Again, this will be different from you. So for me, if I were to eat a large number of carbohydrates, like sugars and stuff, I would be useless the next day. Again, I've met people who eat almost nothing but carbs and they have a very sharp and quick mind most of the day. That might be you. That's certainly not me. I exercise just about every morning, not because I'm vain or I am really, really concerned about getting 18-inch arms, but primarily because if I exercise first thing in the morning for 20 minutes or so, then my brain works a lot better. I'm in a better mood. I have better focus. So that's why I do it. The meditation thing. Well, meditation is a lot more than just helping your focus and then staring deeply into the camera. That's one thing you get from meditation. But what meditation really is about is just overall psychological well-being, which it's nice to have a tool that actually does that for oneself. But whatever, a side effect of meditation is that it makes my mind calm and focused. Getting a good night's sleep, so turning my screens off at 9 p.m. so that I'm not looking at bright screens up until I go to bed at like 11, and then I feel like garbage the next day because my sleep was horrible. So whatever, I'm just giving you some examples from my life. Look at your own life and take note on a day-to-day basis. I did this for years. Every day I woke up and felt terrible, I would ask the question, what did I do yesterday that made me feel this bad? What did I do the past week that made me feel this bad? And in asking that question almost every day, and asking like on a good day, what did I do to make me feel good? I was able to create my own data set, and then I was able to see, okay, well, every time I eat a large bacon cheddar pizza from Domino's, and I love pizza, don't get me wrong, I would wake up the next day feeling like garbage. And it wouldn't even matter if I had a schedule. I wouldn't have followed it anyway because I couldn't even think. So, that's kind of the two things. You have the policy, which helps you make decisions when your decision making capacity is not functioning properly. Then you have behaviors you do which overall improve your decision making capacity. And so you can kind of see that these things they feed into each other. If you have a good policy and you have a good decision making capacity, you will get your work done. Little side note, another part of your policy probably should be that during work periods or the first half of the day, you don't look at news, you don't answer emails, you don't do anything that might mess your mind up. When it's time to work, you get the work done and you don't deviate. Some days, if I know my brain is really ADHD and can't focus, I won't even listen to music. Normally, I allow myself to listen to music when I work. I won't even do that because it's a process of kind of retraining your mind so that it's not stimulus addicted. So that's really what I wanted to talk about here is supporting factors for productivity. What works best for me is having a pretty rigid policy. You might want a policy that's less strict. You might want to do like, okay, I have 5 things I want to do today, and I don't care what order or how long it takes me or how short it takes me. If I get those 5 things done, that's my work day or my study day or whatever. If that works for you, cool. I would suggest you just try different things and find out what works for you. You might want a more rigid schedule. Some people like to schedule every hour of the day. I have from like about 2 p.m. until 9 p.m. where I can basically do what I want. If I feel like doing something productive or continuing to study, and that does happen, then I'll do that. If I'm really tired and I feel like doing absolutely nothing and spending 4 hours watching old school boxing fights, which is one of my things, one of my time wasters, then I'll do that. So hopefully amongst that caffeinated rambling was some useful advice. And yeah, I wish you luck.